All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ask the Sensei, the VO Dojo's monthly free webinar. I'm Tish Hicks, the VO Dojo Master Sensei. We are joined, as we are each month, with our Techno Sensei, Dan Lenard. And this month, our guest senseis are our our demo producers, Brittany Cox and Ryan Ricks from Next Level
Hello, hello.
Voice Demos. So we are always excited to have this call because this is a question and answer call. So we'll answer questions about anything. If you have particular questions about demos, this is a good day to bring them up. But we can answer questions about anything. Between the four of us, we can give you some good insights.
Something, I'm sure.
Insights on probably whatever you need to do. So if this is your first time on the call, the only things you really need to know in this format is, and it looks like most people have found it, there should be a poll on your desk to just check in and let us know where you are on your voiceover journey. That allows us to gauge where we can gauge our answers so that it's appropriate. So it seems like we've got a good mix of people here. If you can let us know where you're calling from in the chat, that's the cartoon bubble with the ellipses in it. Well, we have someone. Mohammed's calling from Egypt today. Wow, cool. Calling from Austin, Denver, Nashville. Awesome. Together we are. That's great. And then this is a question and answer webinar. So if you can put your questions in the question folder, that's where we'll be taking them from. So let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Do you want to introduce yourselves, guys? Brittany and Ryan, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Brittany, and this is my husband, Ryan. We're located in Los Angeles. I'm a voice actor as well as a voice demo producer. And
I'm an audio engineer and also a composer, working also here full-time in Los Angeles. And we're kind of a double, we're a tag team duo with our demo production. Mm-hmm. So it's great.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. And Dan, for those who don't know, like so many people know you, but just in case.
Scary when I walk into a party and people know people. Dan Lenard, the home studio master, an expert on creating home studios, and host of Voiceover Body Shop. Every other Monday night, we interview people, we talk tech, we solve those problems out there, and that's what I do. And I'm I'm a voice actor as well.
Right. Yes, but this is the great thing. We are holding the space for those who come to the dojo, and we are in the mix as well. That's one of our values. So, excellent. And well, let's get started with some questions here. And here we go. Jeff asks, how often should one update one's demos?
Well, it kind of depends. It depends on your journey. It depends on if you're branching out into other markets. What I like to say is, if you have a demo and it's getting you work and work at the level that you want to be at and that you're happy with, then it's working for you.
And it's great.
Then it's doing well. If your skills have changed, if your voice has changed, if you are not getting the work that you want to be getting, if you're not getting the auditions, you want to update your agent, any of those things, definitely starting with the demo is the demo is a good place to start. Also, if you haven't updated your demo in 5 years, I would say it's time. The audio industry, which Ryan can talk more about than I can, has changed so much, just tonally, read-wise, commercially. It's changed so much. So from what we've seen, most people who have had their demo done 5 years ago or more, they sound kind of dated.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's all good. Does that answer your question? Hopefully that answers your question.
That answers.
So what you're saying is that you change, trends change, and technology changes. So you want to make sure that within at least a 5-year thing you're revisiting. And I would add to that, as you start booking work, if there's something that is a real spot, like if you've created your whole demo and there's something that's a real spot that reflects your branding in the same way that the thing you created, to add those real things in, as long as they're still reflecting the whole thing of you, because it might be that something that you made up is still reflecting your package more effectively than work you book. So it's a combination. And then just in general, to always be thinking of your demo as a fluid work in progress, that it's not a static thing, right? It's something that can always be changing and shifting. So. Any thoughts to add to that, Dan?
Always have an updated demo. As we were saying, the market changes, your voice changes, your skill level changes. These are all things that are going to change, hopefully on a monthly basis. Now that said, we know it's expensive to get a demo done. So, at least, try and do it at least every year or so, at least look at your demo. And of course, remember, you can always update your demo with a single spot or remix it or something along those lines as well. So there might be something that makes you sound great, reading a certain style, but maybe there's something else you want to do. So maybe just adds, if there's something you've actually done that really is hot, then, you might want to add that in there.
Yeah. And then also knowing that when you do add another thing in a spot, changing the order is kind of like changing the furniture that you have around. It can shift the dynamic of the whole demo. How you put something new in, it can shift the whole way the thing flows. Obviously you want to make it all work, but it's like getting a slip cover. All right, this is awesome, guys. There's so many great questions coming in. Sometimes it's like questions, guys. Mohammed from Egypt asks, what's the importance of demos? Because whenever someone asks for a sample, there we go, a sample, they mostly need, I think, specifics. They need
something specific.
Something specific. Yeah. Well, I think. Well, you guys. What's your thoughts on that? I have some thoughts.
So I think it depends. I'm not sure how you're auditioning. Like if you're on the pay-to-play sites, or if you have an agent, or all of that stuff. When people are asking for a specific, like for example, on pay-to-play sites, if you're auditioning for a medical spot, they're like, "Hey, can you send me a medical sample so I can see how it relates to my things?" With a demo, let's say commercial demo specifically, that shows your voice in all different energy levels, right? And different sellabilities. So something a little more low key and national television wise, or something more hyped in radio. And having those different samples kind of shows potential buyers what your voice is capable of on different levels.
Right. And it's a way for them to have access to that information all in one place. And so the whole point of the demo is for somebody to be able to know and trust you and understand who they're investing in as the voice talent just from that demo alone. And so a lot of people use their demos, and a lot of casting directors use demos to like book actors with. And then a lot of times your demo is kind of a first step. And so that's what opens the door for you. And then the casting director or whomever you're working with would reach out and say, hey, we loved your demo. We'd love to hear you do this specific thing that we're asking for. And so it kind of just depends on, how people are relating to your demo, but that's really what it's there for. It's a conversation starter, it's a door opener, and a lot of times people will book you directly off of your demo as well. Right. So it's kind of all of it.
And it also is a way, if people are asking for specific auditions and stuff, it's a way to say, hey, you can trust me, listen to my voice with music and sound effects behind it. I can hold my own. I can actually sell these products and believably sell all these products, as opposed to just sending a dry audition.
Yeah. Right. And I think there's a threshold that gets crossed in your voiceover journey. There's the day before you do your demo and the day after you do your demo, and then having your demo in hand. That shows that you've invested a certain amount of time and energy into this work. In order to put together a good demo, you need to understand what range you are presenting. So that gives people a good glimpse. The times that you really, where the demo fits in is as you're looking for representation, as you're adding people to your team to get you where you're going. And then oftentimes, producers and creative directors that we work with, when they get an audition or it's down to a short list, then they'll go to the demo and go, oh, what else can she do? Or he do? That's another way that happens. And then booking directly off is also. So, and then Mohammed, you also need to, we also can start this discussion of it might work different in the Arabic speaking market, right? So you might find a different experience of how the industry works, which would be, then getting your insights would be helpful for. I do need to say that Dan has a hard out at 10:45, so I'm going to check if there are any purely tech questions. Oh, yay, so many good people are on. Yay. I think there was a noise floor.
Yeah, there's two questions here. One was about microphones and one about noise floor. Heather Alexander is asking, I have a microphone and sound booth of sorts. They can mean all sorts of things. Can I record to my phone? Is there a certain app I should use? Well, it depends on what your phone is. If it's a dial-up phone, probably not. If it's an iPhone or an Android, there are interfaces and certain mics that will connect directly to an iPhone. However, here's a little trick that a lot of people have been using. People who book work because they are constantly driving around Los Angeles auditioning for this, that, or the other thing. And that is their iPhone has a really good microphone in it already. And if you're in your car in a quiet place, you pull off into a lot, you can use something called Twisted Wave, which is on here somewhere. Here it is. You can use Twisted Wave. Okay, and okay, there we go. But you hit record, and you talk into your iPhone, and it records you very well. You don't talk directly into it like that. You hold it off a little bit to the side. If you're in your car, it will sound just fine. Got to remember that most of the time, people who are casting, if it's something big time, they're going to want you to come into a studio. They're far more concerned about, do you get the copy, as opposed to, are you in your car? So a lot of people who are very successful are using their phone and use it this way. You don't need any special attachments. They do make, mics that will clip onto your iPhone that work pretty well. But it's a matter of using proper mic technique and making sure that, you're not talking directly into the mic. If you're just a little bit off axis on it, it will record you really nicely.
And then, were you complete, Dan?
Well, no, that's for that. I mean, the question was, I have a microphone and booth of sorts. can I use my phone? And yes, you can use certain interfaces like the Focusrite Solo will plug directly into your iPhone or iOS device, like your iPad or something like that.
And then I think the next layer of concern is your workflow. Like, how easy is it to work on your phone? Because if you have 10 pieces of copy to edit, working on your phone may not be as easy as having either, you know, an iPad or something.
Right. No, I would, you know, you use that in an emergency if you've got a sudden audition or something like that. But most of the time, keep it to your studio. And remember, you can't do an addition to something that you've done in your studio on your phone in your car. Audio, the background, the acoustics change, all those sorts of things. So you can only do one thing in one place. And if you need to do a pickup or something like that, it's got to be done back in the same place. So that, if that makes any sense. There was one other question here from Dave G. He says, hey, Dan, noise floor in the booth, minus 65 is good, right? Yeah, it's great. Is it worth trying to get it to minus 70? Additional treatments or preamp chain tweaking? Boy, there's a lot in there that you got to think about. One, if you got your noise floor below minus 55 to minus 60, it's dandy. Usually those sounds that are, you know, anything that's below that is something that is a subharmonic. It's something that is probably something that is not even in the range of your voice and can easily be filtered out using a high-pass filter or something along those lines. But you can't add more soundproofing. You can add sound diffusing material and sound absorbing material. Everybody seems to make this mistake who's setting up their home studio for the first time. There is a complete difference between soundproofing and sound diffusion. Soundproofing is preventing exterior noise from coming into your booth or into your recording space, and sound diffusion and sound absorption prevents the reflection of sound within the room, to whereas if you're in a small booth, it sounds like you're in a tube. So don't confuse those two terms. They are completely different. And you can shove as much Orlex or foam or whatever on your walls, it's not going to prevent sound from coming in. So don't confuse those two. There are two ways, well, there's a bunch of ways, but there's two main ways to keep sound out. One is to have a booth, something that is built specifically to resist sound coming from the outside. That said, those are going to cost you $5,000 to $7,000. And if it's a matter of your neighbor cutting his grass, you could spend that $5,000 to $7,000, or you could wait for your neighbor to stop cutting their grass. You know, deadlines aren't that important, and they're important, but an audition isn't that tight where 30 seconds or a minute or two the other way is not going to make a difference. The other way is to find a good closet, especially a walk-in closet with lots of clothes in it. One that's an interior closet, something that's insulating you from a lot of the outside noises. If you got that, that's great. There, I just saved you $7,000. This whole call was totally worth it, just showing up for that one tip. And you want to do everything you can physically to keep exterior noise out and to make sure that your acoustics are right in your room. Because when you start applying chains, guys like Ryan are going to hear this and go, this person doesn't know how to use this stuff. Why are they using it? If you don't know what it is, don't use it. And if you start applying chains, somebody on the other end's going to go, they applied a chain. It takes literally years to learn how to use this stuff properly, to have the proper ear, to know what it's supposed to sound like. It's not your job to be doing that stuff, so forget about it. Let the engineers do this stuff. Get your space physically set. Right, Ryan?
Yes, sir.
And he's still learning all the time. It's like a constant thing. It's, you know, there's always new things. The room is always changing, just like Dan was saying.
Yeah, things move, things change, and even at a, you know, operating at a high level, you're still going to be making tweaks and finding things that you like and don't like and whatever. It's not a you've attained it. Yeah. You know, it's a revolving door always.
Yeah. Good. Excellent. Well, thank you, Dan. And always know that Dan's available for answering your tech questions. So it's great to have him here. So Rachel asks if it's necessary to include the name of the product and service in the demo spot. Interesting.
So a trend that you'll find as we start answering more and more questions about the demos specifically is that the answer is it depends. And in this case, what it depends on is it depends on the type of work that you're wanting to do and the direction that you are wanting to move as a voiceover artist.
And your region.
And yeah, exactly what I was about to say. And your region. So, for example, if you are wanting to compete on a large scale, like in a market like Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, something like this, then absolutely, yes. You need to make sure that every spot on your demo has a brand and a client name in there that people would recognize, be able to relate to, and specifically, it needs to be a client and a brand that is right for your voice in 2019. It needs to there needs to be this illusion of sorts that when people hear that, your voice on that brand or that client, that they have heard that somewhere. That's what you want, and so, but it depends, right? Like if you're not competing in a bigger market or a bigger thing like that, and you're doing more like working in a smaller market, where you're doing more regional based stuff for local companies and businesses and things like that, then maybe that's not a big concern for you, but all of it comes back to you. It depends on what you want from, how you categorize success for yourself and what direction you're moving in as a voiceover talent.
And it's also an experience level as well. If you are regularly auditioning for national brands and national spots, then you should probably put them on your demo.
You should absolutely have them on your
demo. If you're a beginner in voiceover, it's not necessarily believable that you would book a Coca-Cola commercial on a national campaign. It might happen, but it's a little bit harder of a sell, especially if you're in like a small town, like in North Carolina. You probably wouldn't have access to those types of auditions. Right. So it's not as believable.
Yeah, so it just comes down to like where you are, where you're moving, the people that are relating to your demo. Yeah. And so all of that gets factored into creating this vibe about you that you are a professional, that you know what you're doing, and you know where you fit.
And a good demo producer should be talking to you about that. When you go to a demo producer to say, hey, let's put something together, that should be part of the conversation.
Yeah, that's not necessarily something you need to solve by yourself, alone. Mm-hmm. So.
And then I think there's also things, sculpting a demo is, you can also figure out like if there's something that gets a quality of your voice but doesn't necessarily have and the brand and product tag, you can use that as like garnish, as little peppering or spicing in it. One of my first demos, I just had a little thing that said something like, people tell me I look better with my shirt on. Yeah, right. It didn't have any product, but it was like, oh, what was that? And a whole nother thing. So that's something else that you can explore with your demo producer. That doesn't have to be, and then this, and then this. You can kind of pepper that through, but it's a combination and the whole effect. Good.
Good question.
Yeah. Other Rachel, when's a good time to make a demo? Total beginner to voice acting. This is a really important question.
I would say that if you're a total beginner, that a demo right out the gate is not necessarily going to serve you. Because the demo, like we've been talking about, is there to open doors for you, and it's there to showcase the caliber of work that you are capable of doing and what your strengths as a performer are. And if you're brand new, odds are that you haven't spent enough time doing the internal work necessary to understand what those strengths are, and therefore how to communicate those in your performance, in your reading, because it is work. it is a job being a voice actor. Like, it's not something that necessarily that you can just kind of jump into and conquer the world kind of thing. Like, a lot of people have great natural ability, but just like with anything, it takes a lot of time and reflection and training in order to get to a point where you can deliver on a consistent basis, and that quality is what's expected in the marketplace. And so if you're just starting out, our advice would definitely be to like save your money and invest that money in classes and training, and get yourself to a place where you have some real confidence and ground to stand on, and then look to a demo as kind of the next step to help you connect and find, you know, where you might fit in the broad scheme of things. Like, if you're really good at you know, a laid back commercial style, or if you're really good at super high energy, fast talking radio copy, whatever that might be. Okay. That's how we kind of think about it. Yeah.
Any thoughts, Dan?
No, not on that one. Let's
I want to make sure before you go. I've got a bunch of things. So at the VO Dojo, we break down the natural progression from I don't know to working pro into belt levels. So there's a progression. There's opening your awareness, like, hey, it's voiceover. Wow. Then that's white belt in our You Should Do Voiceover intensive. Then the yellow belt is exploration. Like, let's find out about this. Let's find out where all the parties are, right? Where all the voiceover parties are. And then green belt is demo, is self-exploration, which becomes your demo preparation, right? Knowing what you're about and what you're bringing to the party is that demo preparation part. And then there's the demo production. Once you have your skills built, you have an understanding of yourself, and then you start taking the time to produce the demo. And as Ryan was starting to touch on, why do we want the demo? The demo, what we want it to open the door, and we want to know that we are ready to do whatever is expected after you open the door, right? So you get a great demo, you get a meeting with an agent, it goes well. The next day, theoretically, they can be like, come on in, we're going to give you a pile of 8 pieces of copy, let's roll. So if your demo sounds great because you worked with a great demo producer who eked it out of you, then you're not going to be able to deliver. So one of the things we talk about at the dojo is when you're ready, and so many thoughts. When you're ready, can you look at any piece of copy that's put in front of you and nail it within 1 or 2 takes without any other direction, without any coaching? If you are hitting it like that pretty consistently, you know, and then also if you don't hit it, that you have the skills to go like, okay, what's going on? Why did that take me 7 takes? That's the next layer. Sharing a story, when I was coming up, you know, in my journey, I had done I'd moved from Chicago, had done some work, arrived here and trained, and I was like, okay, I'm ready. And it was Cindy Akers at Voice Tracks West did me the biggest favor of my career, because I went in, did a private coaching with her. She said, you are 98% ready, and I am not going to produce your demo. And I was like, oh, because you have to be 110% ready. You have to be 130% ready to get into this game. One of the other things I always say here is to break into the voiceover world, you need to be able to get on the highway going 85 miles an hour with people who've been driving the Autobahn for 25 years. So that's a very visceral thing, right? Can you do it? Yes, people do it all the time. You have to build your vehicle. You have to train yourself to drive. You have to get your confidence so that you can be going at that speed. And then, yes, can you do it on a scooter? No. And then one more thing, and we'll move on. But these are all really great ideas and metaphors and things to think about as you're talking about when is it time to do my demo. everyone's going to have their own gestation period. If you think of your journey as a gestation period, everyone's going to be on their individual journey. And if you think of your demo as being like birthing your baby, right? You don't want your baby born at 6 months. It can survive, it can go. You're probably going to spend a lot of money on NICU, making sure they're okay. Might be a little developmentally delayed, might not make it, right? So giving yourself, going through, creating your process and knowing where you are in the journey and getting a sense of when that is ready, like when things are fully formed. So there's 600 metaphors for you. And we can talk about this more. But understand it's part of the process, and we're always available to talk about where you're at. So, good. Okay, there's lots of metaphors here. Catherine Campion, yay! It says, I'm hearing that commercial demos are becoming more varied, including dialogue, more character stuff, dialects, etc. Would you agree? Yes.
I'm going to raise my hand for this one because I was just talking to somebody about this. So it's an excellent question. Commercial demos only. I would say no. First off, and the person I was talking to was a casting director. When you have dialogue in a demo, it can confuse the listener. Like, did you do both of those voices? Did you do one? Whose demo am I listening to? Or if it's clear it was not you, they're like, oh, who's that person? Oh, I want them for this deal. You want nothing to distract from you and your voice and your performance. You want them to focus on you. The character stuff and dialects for a commercial demo, no character stuff. In today's market. Today's market, they want to hear your natural voice and what you naturally bring at different energy levels. So, because if you were auditioning regularly, you'll see real person, conversational, non-announcer. So they want to hear what you actually sound like, who you actually are, and what you naturally bring to things. Like, for example, I bring a lot of energy when I read copy. And so that's what is highlighted on my demo. But I don't change my voice. It's just me at different energy levels. And then dialects. Dialects is a little tricky. So if your natural dialect is, let's say you're based in America and your natural way of speaking is you have a British accent, and that's how you naturally sound. But you can also do an American accent as well. I would say include both, because you naturally have a British accent, but clients will also want to hear that you can do American as well. So I would say if you sound like a native speaker and that is something you get booked for, yes, you can absolutely pepper that in. If you do like 30 different dialects, have a dialect-specific demo.
To showcase that.
Yeah.
The goal being to make everything as bite-sized and digestible for the people that are going to be hiring you as possible.
Right.
And then also, Catherine, I saw you were talking about your spot with your 2 people is with a celebrity. Even still, it's a distraction. It doesn't matter. And people don't, what's the word?
It's not like an on-camera thing where you show that you're doing a scene with a famous person.
Right. It's different. Like with just audio, it's really about removing distractions. It's all about just making things simple, straightforward, and honest without any sort of whatever.
Right.
I mean, because even if, just like Brittany was saying, even if the voice is a celebrity voice, how much more distracting is that going to be when somebody hears that voice and they stop listening to you and they're like, who was that voice? Was that
Tina Fey? Oh my God.
Was that Samuel L. Jackson? Her. Who was that guy? Like, whatever. Like, it really doesn't matter. And you don't need you do not need a celebrity guest role on your demo. Your demo, you're the celebrity. Right. You're the star. You're the center of attention. Let them do their thing, and you just have your moment in the light.
Maybe the celebrity spot, if it is a TV spot, then you can put that on your website as a video or something.
Yeah,
sure.
You know, there's 100 other ways you could showcase that. Just a commercial demo is not necessarily the best place. You know, especially because of like this conversation we were having with the casting directors, was that it can be really distracting and really throw somebody for a loop who's never heard your voice before. You know, there's a lot of new information that's coming across in a very short amount of time, and anything you could do to streamline that, the better.
Because casting just doesn't have time to figure it out. They're like, I'm confused, next.
It really is that straightforward. It's like why is there a guy on her demo? Nope, done. And you're just off to the next, and you missed it, you know.
That's interesting. Yeah. I see that there's a couple of there's several questions that I think we can combine into one sort of topic, which is cost of what's a good going rate for a demo, and what is the pros cons of doing one yourself rather than having one professionally produced. Fair rate, home studio, what if it's all you can afford? These are so let's see. Let's
throw it all together.
And then I think there's a next layer of what demos do you need? But let's talk about cost and the pros and cons of doing it. The pros of doing it with someone who is a professional voiceover demo producer, and the cons of doing it by yourself. I'd almost put it like that, right?
For sure. Okay. So again, this depends on your market. Demo rates in LA range from $1,000 to $3,000. There are some that charge a little more, but that's just ridiculous. In my opinion. That's a down payment on a car. So a demo, we like to think of a demo as an investment in your career. It is something, if you spend $20 on making a demo, is it going to be as good as a $1,000 demo that is recorded in an actual studio? That I don't think so, but it's up to you.
It really
it's a big question.
It's a big question to answer because there's a lot of variety in it. And I know Dan would agree with me that it's not about the equipment.
Right.
It's how you use it. And it's the benefit of working with a professional is that in theory, they know how to use the equipment. They know how to use the equipment on your voice and to alter things to where everything feels authentic and true to you as a talent, and that the work that they do is customized to what you bring to the table as a performer. That is probably the biggest pro of working with a demo producer, and why it's worth, the $1,000 to $3,000 or whatever it is, because they are a set of fresh ears. And it's super important, Brittany and I were kind of talking about this earlier today in terms of when you're working with a demo producer, there are a handful of questions that you should kind of have in the back of your mind to ask, because these are kind of the tent poles of the process. And depending on their answer, that will help clarify some things for you in terms of if that producer is a good fit for you, if doing it on your own is a better fit for you. All of those things will kind of find some clarity. And so a couple of those questions to ask are, when you're working with a demo producer, is do they write original scripts for you? That's a very big thing to consider, because the copy does matter. And so depending on who you work with, they may have just literally like a file cabinet just full of old auditions and things that they're just like, oh, I'll just read that. Whatever, doesn't matter. It's, whatever. As opposed to, the approach that Brittany and I take, where we take time to understand what your goals are, who you are as a voice talent, what your strengths are as an artist, and then we write scripts and brand you in a way that you can go out and represent yourself to casting directors and agents and on Voice 123 and Voices,
current.
whatever, that sounds like you're working in 2019.
Yep.
And so that's the first thing. The other thing to consider is how much recording time do you get? Are the music, sound effects, and mix included in the cost of the demo? Some people shop that out, which is very weird to me. And then, also
turnaround time.
There are a lot of demo producers and people that we've heard that it takes 6 months or more to get even just the first version of your demo back. And I can't speak to what every demo producer does. I just know, through Brittany and I's experience and after talking with hundreds of people and working on hundreds of demos, we take a lot of pride in writing original scripts, and we take a lot of pride in a 10-day turnaround for your finished demo.
Right. Because I think somebody asked about that too, turnaround times.
So, and so that, and to our knowledge, both of those things are more uncommon than they are the norm.
Right.
So that's kind of things that we, the way that we approach things.
And the question about should you do it on your own versus should you go to a producer, I think it's if you have the skills to do it on your own, sure, you can do it. It's like, if you can fix your car yourself, yeah, okay, great. You have those skills and you want to spend the time to learn how to do it and save a little money, cool. Or do you want to just pay somebody who does this for a living and they will fix your car and it'll be fine and it won't break down on the 405?
Right. And it also, again, has that benefit of having to remember that so much of this job that we do and so much of this job as voice actors, you're alone a lot of it, right? And so, but the point is that your demo is not going to be heard in a vacuum.
Right.
Your demo always gets heard up against every other demo, every commercial, every radio spot that's currently being produced and that these casting directors are working on, which is, 50 to 100 different clients, all across, the year. And so it's super important that, when your demo hits their ears for the first time, that it really makes an impression. And it's important to work with somebody who understands that is important and can help make that process sing for you.
Right. And if you decide, okay, I have the skills and I can make this at home, if you put your home demo up against someone who paid the let's say $2,000 for their demo, would it stand up? Would it sound equal quality?
Right.
And if the answer is yes, then great.
Yeah. And it's important to be honest about that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the tree thing, right? When somebody's like, draw a tree, and you go, dude, it's a tree. Well, it's not a tree. It's a symbol of a tree. Like if you actually are looking at a tree and somebody's asking you to draw this tree, you get into these fine details and these things that become almost intangible in a way that you just feel. And so it needs to be an honest comparison when you look at it.
This is fantastic. Dan needs to run. Two things, Dan. Do you have 30 seconds to say? I think there's sometimes people have resources like their musician friends that have access. Can you state a little bit about the difference between both musical engineering and then
absolutely.
the business, and then let people know how to reach you, and we'll see you next month.
Okay. Yeah, you got to understand that almost all of the equipment we use in voiceover was designed for making music. These companies weren't even thinking about voiceover. Some of the higher end companies like Neumann and Sennheiser and things like that, at least they're trying to have a wide range of things for very, very specific things. Microphones and things along those lines. Most importantly, you've got to understand that all of this equipment that we're using, we have borrowed from this other genre of recording engineering. We've just adapted it to our use. And that when you talk to a recording engineer from a big studio, not including Ryan, who actually understands home studio audio and what you're supposed to be doing here, a lot of these guys really don't have the reference that you're working out of your walk-in closet and not out of their $250,000 acoustically sterile and neutral environment where they can throw a $10,000 Telefunken microphone in there. Their reference is what they do on their end. Your job is to get your voice down clean, proper acoustics, proper mic technique, learning how to set levels, and forget about all this other stuff that's going to distract you, and you'll become obsessed about what chain to use, what preamp to use, all this stuff.
That's on the technical side, but
Right.
in terms of understanding what the new, as Ryan was saying, what the nuances of what's required for a voiceover demo in today's market, they might not understand what those trends are as well. So they have all the stuff,
Right.
but use it in a different manner.
Right. Unless you really understand how to do production work, how to do multi-tracking and add music and sound effects and things like that, I wouldn't recommend it. If you have booked work and you've got actual stuff, I might list that stuff down too as well. Trying to do a demo on your own, I know it's kind of like, it's a catch-22. Well, how do I create something to get people to know what I do if I've never done it? Practice it, learn it, talk to somebody who knows how to do it, and see if you can get some help doing it. And
that's always a great way. Do what you can, and then get some feedback on it and see where it lands. So
exactly. And if you want to get a hold of me, it's real easy. All you have to do is go to homevoiceoverstudio.com, and that will get you there. There's a contact there. I can help you with your home studio, answer your questions. For $25, I'll analyze your studio audio to see if it's sounding right, and if we need to schedule a consult, we can do that. And there's a $25 discount because you're with the Dojo. So thank you, and I have to run.
And Dan's great. We love Dan.
Pleasure to see you, Tish. Pleasure to see you guys always. Let's do coffee again soon.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye, Dan.
Toodaloo.
Okay, so hopefully that answers a bundle of questions. And once again, we're not saying we're really not going like, oh well, you have well, it's not a snooty butt thing, guys. It's really it goes back to that car on the Autobahn thing. You can build your own car. Is it going to be able to get you where you want to go at the rate that you'd like to get there? Mm-hmm. I think that's a really important thing to think about. Let's see, what else we got here. In general, answering some of the questions about what demos do you need. One of the surest sign of being someone who's not totally clear on how the business works is putting lots of different genres on one demo. Mm-hmm. And the way to think through this is who is the buyer and what do they need? So if your voice is killer commercial and you're awesome at animation and you can also nail e-learning narration stuff, if I'm an e-learning narration person, I don't necessarily want to hear all your cute panda bear characters because it does not apply to what I am casting and need right now, right? Even though you're a brilliant genius. So it allows me as the buyer to go, what do I need to hear? Can they do it? Yes. Boom. Right? Which I think also, so it's for you to explore what the opportunities are. Right. And I think this also answers a couple of other questions here of like, how does Dojo work? How do you explore? So how do you find out what all the possibilities are? How do you explore them enough that you would want to jump into them and have the skills to jump in competitively? Right. And everyone's going to have a different journey on that because everyone has a different orchestra in their voice that is suited for different kinds of that have different strengths that are applicable to different genres. So once I think I like to think of your commercial demo as like going to medical school, Like everyone who's doing this business, unless you absolutely know that you just want to do audiobooks, you just want to do one certain thing and that's your definition, that's great. If you're looking to diversify your income producing portfolio as a voiceover artist, exploring realistically what are the things, you don't have to do everything, but what realistically are things that can become income producing revenue streams. Each one of us is going to prioritize differently, right? So getting your commercial demo, the process of that aligns you with the power of your voice, allows you to know what you're bringing to the party, and then you specialize, right? And taking those skill sets and what I know about my own voice, I will now create my e-learning demo or my narration demo. Or so that's my take. What do you guys think about
Yeah,
that?
I totally agree. And like you were saying with the commercial demo, how it's kind of like your first foray into getting demos done. If you're looking for an agent, or if you're looking to meet with new clients and stuff who do commercial, they will ask for your commercial demo first. If you have other things, that's great. But because I'm represented in the Northwest and here in LA, and both times the first thing they wanted to hear was, send me your commercial demo. We know you do all this other stuff, but I want the commercial demo first.
Yeah.
And that's kind of your first step.
Yeah, always. It's the best place to start.
Yeah.
I think we have a time for a couple more. These great questions, guys. Couple things that I want to say before we wrap up, or as a segue, and we'll try and get one or two more questions in. Brittany and Ryan will be joining us for our Demo Listen Derby, which is coming up on March 20th. This is one of our favorite events of the Dojo year.
Yeah.
What we do is combine our strengths, and we have anybody who has a demo submit them, and we run them through a gauntlet. Now, Ryan, his work has been that he has been the person who is the gatekeeper. He's been the person who will listen through and make decisions about what gets through. So we're going to be running through that particular process. So that's coming up March 20th. If you have a demo and you want to get a sense of what might happen once it is seen by somebody, or when it arrives somewhere, what Ryan was talking about, how it compares to, are we looking for someone to be on our roster? Okay, then I'm comparing it to all of these voices. Am I looking for someone this particular spot? Then I'm listening to that demo in a different way. So that's coming up on March 20th. You can go to the website, www.thevodojo.com, and you can sign up for that right now.
Do it. It's going to be great.
And you get actionable feedback of things that you can adjust on your demo as well. Like we try and give actionable.
Yeah, and what we do is it's like a demolition derby, in that everybody's in the mix, and then we sort out the next round. Like we'll listen, and then we'll listen to the next layer of questions that we're looking for, and then we'll narrow it down, and then we'll look at probably one demo in depth. So you get sort of an understanding of the process. And then, of course, we'll be available for everyone to have questions. Let's see. Oh, we've got 6 minutes. Let's see. Seems like there's a couple of how do I find content questions, particularly in terms of some of the genres, some e-learning, there's a couple of e-learning demo questions. Maybe we can address those. Terrell, and I keep on forgetting how to pronounce your name, sweetie. I think it's Terrell, and I know you, and you sent me a Christmas card, so I know you, so I should know that. What tips, been advised that corporate e-learning medical is a way to go with your voice? What tips in choosing scripts, music versus no music, self-produce or not? And this is a whole nother discussion in terms of doing a narration demo is a little bit different beast than doing a commercial demo. So yeah, and then here's another question. So you guys hop along. I'll curate the questions back here.
Yeah. So in terms of tips and production and things like that, for narration stuff, so our kind of guiding light is always referencing. You always want to reference what is out there with what you're doing. And when I say out there, I don't mean other demos. I mean what's out there in terms of final products. So for example, if you are producing a medical spot on your narration demo or an e-learning spot for somebody, go to their website, see what they do.
Find what finished spots sound like.
Find what that client deems as their final product that they release to the masses, and then use that as kind of a guiding light for your own choices.
Right, because with narration, it's kind of a mix that we found. Some people really like voice and a music bed. Some like dry voice with some sound effects.
Yeah,
it totally depends.
So it totally depends. But that for narration stuff, that would be kind of a good place to start if you're looking for ideas, is just to reference what these clients are deeming as their finished product, right, and just try and match that to the best you can.
Yeah, and I think that's one of Brittany and Ryan's strengths as demo producers too. They are really in tune and conscientiously, actively keep up on what the trends are, knowing that, this is what this product is and this is that campaign. It kind of sounds and feels like this. They spend a lot of time and energy and are out meeting people who are the decision makers and asking them actively. So they have a really, I think that's one of their superpowers as a demo producing team as well. But it's a great thing for you to start understanding. And this is a great thing to keep in mind of your demos and of all of your voiceover work, guys. You are in the driver's seat. So you're on this journey, you're in this process. So the more that you can start thinking, like, well, what are the questions that Brittany and Ryan are asking? What is the questions that are coming up? How can I think about, well, what can I do to research that answer? What can I be doing to tune in to what's actually going on? What can I do to go like, oh, I hear my voice in that. Oh, I know I can do that, right? So you're always working with, you want to find the best people that you resonate with that will guide you clearly and strongly and surely to where you want to be. And then it's really you're also developing your own self-confidence and clarity, and you becoming the expert, honoring that you are on your journey to it, but also cultivating that you know what you're talking about.
And we also put in the chat, since we're getting close to time, in case some of you have to run, we put our website and our email address. If you guys have any further questions that we didn't get to or anything like that, you want to hear what some of our demos sound like.
Yeah, and that's my personal email address. So please feel free to reach out with any questions, because I know there's a lot that we're not touching on or whatever. So please don't hesitate. Reach out. We'll get back to you in a day or two. No big deal. So. Yeah.
And as we wrap up, I am always available to do what I call a voiceover once-over, which is a free 15-minute call. You can go to the website and we can get your questions answered. I might have a little bit of time to type some out, but if you didn't get your questions answered, really stay in touch with us, and then know that we're here next month too. But I don't want you to wait a month to have a question unanswered. That's too long. These are great questions, guys. The way that you're thinking is really good. The way that you're articulating is really, you're articulating your questions is really good. And that's sometimes half the battle, right? So I'll see if I can take a couple of seconds and type some here, but call us. We're here for you. If the Demo Listen Derby, and even if you don't have a demo, sign up for the Demo Listen Derby, because it will be illuminating. If you had questions,
so much.
You'll have a really, really good sense of what it is. And we're true. We don't blow smoke. but we're also very kind and nurturing, and it's so that we can shed light on the process so that you can understand it. That's why we do it. So,
honesty with love.
yes, fiercely nurturing. That's one of the dojo's values. Everyone's so excited to have you here. It always means so much that this is happening. Couple of other things coming up. If you are starting on your journey or kind of halfway there and want to reinvigorate, we have the You Should Do Voiceover Intensive coming up, live weekend intensive in LA, March 15th, 16th, 17th. We've added a Friday night. And then we also do our virtual 6-week version in April. I'm going to be coming back and forth to the New York area a lot more this year. I'll be back in April. So if you're in that area and want to talk about how we can be working together, we work virtually with people everywhere, literally. Mohammed is an example of that, calling from Egypt.
Which we so appreciate. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So cool.
So yes, stay close. Always something good happening at the dojo. So if you're on here, you're on our email list, but always available to questions. Always appreciate having you here. And Brittany and Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time, and we'll see you. We'll see you for the demo lesson derby.
Sounds great.
Sounds good. Thank you guys so much for your wonderful questions.
Thanks, everybody. We look forward to seeing you at the derby. It's going to be fun.
Yay!
And please feel free to reach out. Don't hesitate at all. We're not shy. So
quite friendly, actually.
We tried it.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.